Note: this is the second part of this story audible. In order to avoid the sequence spoiler, please see this video description for the link of part 1. VIRAAT, Adventure of a Loyal Beast, Part 2, the story continues. He was terrified at that moment and ran as fast he can to the house. He said everything to his father and Saya. Seeing his anxiousness, Saya said to him that whatever he saw was true and that they knew it since her childhood and that there is nothing to fear for it. Nishant was surprised by it. He wanted to know more about the beast. He said, so the wolf is real and harmless, but how? He asked. Saya said, no, it's not a wild wolf, he is a dog. He was named VIRAAT and that he is huge like anything. She said he can imagine a dog which is 3 times an alpha elephant's size with such a big jaw where a man can be easily swallowed at once when he opens his mouth wide long. Nishant was terrified by the dog's attributes. He shivered and demanded to see this beast at once. Saya said, okay, wait for the night to come, I will show you. She did what she said. She screamed his name at the night. VIRAAT showed himself slowly from the forest and Nishant was petrified by VIRAAT's sight. VIRAAT's instincts found something negative in Nishant and started barking at once. He was terrified by his bark as it was so powerful and fearful. He ran inside the house like anything even after his father Tapan Singh and Saya said it okay, VIRAAT will not harm him. Nishant said to his dad it is not normal to be such a giant dog and he never heard of any such breed growing so humongous in size. Saya said to him, whatever it is, don't talk about him in the outside world as it will be dangerous for VIRAAT. Nishant assured that he will not utter a single word in front of anyone about VIRAAT. He said it's a great scientific marvel to see such a beauty, but something darker grown in Nishant's mind about the dog that night. He wanted to take the dog's DNA sample to study his genome, so that he could get an edge to discover something great that the Biogen company will usually want. Then he will be easily in demand to the company. And without merit, he could enter the company showing his discovery and he may demand a place in the company satisfying his aim. Nishant made a decent approach before VIRAAT with the help of Saya. And during one occasion he plucked VIRAAT's hairs and hid it in his coat. He then made a demand to go to the city for a meeting with his colleague and assured them not to speak of VIRAAT to anyone, not even Madhu, his mother. He then went directly to the Biogen research facility which was not far from Saya's house in the Himachal mountains and offered to hand over the giant dog's hair sample and with a demand to talk to the company director and research scientist Dr. Noland, who was in States at that time. The facility personals contacted Dr. Noland and said him about Nishant, who discovered a huge dog that will meet his interests. Dr. Noland came the second day with his private jet after Nishant's offer at the research center because he was the one behind all these for decades. Dr. Noland had an official debate with Nishant about the dog as to what did he look like and how giant is the dog. Nishant said to Dr. Noland everything in detail about VIRAAT. After then Nishant handed over the specimen hair of VIRAAT to Dr. Noland and demanded a special post in the company. A genome test had been conducted and the test result was positive. That the gene was none other than the same enhanced stretched gene which was genetically engineered by Dr. Noland himself decades ago with the help of some Indian scientists. After lots of tests on various dogs, only VIRAAT survived during the mutation process of his cells after injecting the primary genome serum. His whole family was sacrificed in that test as no one survived the cell mutation process. Dr. Noland revealed his intention to make super profits by selling these smart animals as a new generation of bioweapons to the enemy countries who can train and use them in any war. Lowering the dependency on arms and machines which doesn't have their mind and need to be operated by men, rather than this kind of animals which have their mind, and after the serum, these animals would be more invincible and smarter. His intention was to create a new market in the field of war and he wanted to be the monopoly supplier of this bioweapons. After explaining this, Nishant was given a special place in the company research and development department. But he has demanded something more, and that was the dog's blood and bone marrow sample, as he wanted to extract special stem cells from the dog to make the ultimate genome serum which could be used to mutate any animal genetic DNA framework on Earth. Nishant agreed to it and went to the mountains and said to Saya, his dad and uncle, about it. Saya was shocked and even the brothers were angry by this, as he had committed not to reveal VIRAAT's existence. Nishant said to Saya and his dad that they will get huge money for it, and it is the question of Nishant's career at the biggest research company in the world. Saya straight away said no to it, but Nishant loudly said to Saya that he was mildly requesting them till now. But they are crossing the line. The dog belongs to the company, as the dog was lost when they were transporting him due to an accident. Even if it is real, Saya said, he is under her protection now and she will not let any of them touch even the hair of Virat. Nishant again in anger said to them he is the company's property and can be legally obtained by them. Saya said there is something fishy in this. If they wanted it, they would have done it 1 week ago after you revealed the fact about Virat. The size of Virat is not because of the experiments conducted on making vaccination for healing fatal diseases of animals, but was making biological weapons with enhanced cellular engineering on animals, especially smart animals, for using them as weapons against their enemies. I can understand it very well. That's why they want Virat's blood and bone marrow, so that they can make more of these animals with enhanced abilities. I will not let this happen, and can't you see it, Nishant? You should know that weaponizing animals was stated illegal by the government not only in India but all over the world. I have once read the news about it when I was small. It was all about the same Biogen company. Whatever Nishant said to Saya, that's none of my concern. Will you peacefully let me have it, or I have to take a compelling call? Saya, Bapan, and Tapan were very angry by these words of Nishant and said him to get out of their house and property and not to show his face again. Virat is their family member and not a lab rat. Nishant was very displeased. Whatever you will see, he said, and slammed the door and went away. Nishant called and said this to Dr. Noland. He said him that the girl Saya was right, it's illegal, the girl is smart. That's why even the dog is the company's property, we cannot go legally to get it. We have to use force. Leave it on me, he said to Nishant. Dr. Noland ordered his group of mercenaries soldiers, knowing that Virat will not be easy to capture, as he got an idea from Nishant about Virat. He knew that a huge force will be necessary to take Virat captive or down. He said Nishant to go with the mercenaries and guide him at the position of Virat in the forest with an assurance that his father Tapan Singh will not be harmed in any way. He ordered his men to take the dog captive and if it is not possible, kill the dog. Because he just needed his blood and bone marrow. Dr. Noland had a mercenary army ready on his command at his research facility base. He was also expertly trained in various military weapons and vehicle handlings. It was his passion too. He had bought various military war crafts, weapons and vehicles from the black market and kept them in his facility by smuggling them illegally through his company Biogen's cargo planes in the cover of importing chemicals and scientific equipment. He kept them to ensure his safety if any unforeseen situation surrounds him, either if it would his competitors, group of people, or even from the government. Nishant with the mercenaries' army started heading to the mountain from the back side of the forest at night. Saya and his family had no idea about it, as they had never even thought of huge hostiles or heading their way. The mercenaries consisted of trained, ruthless armed men with rifles, guns, rocket launchers, and heavy vehicles such as Hummers, trucks, APCs, and for the last resort an Army Hunter helicopter for aerial attack. Dr. Noland wanted the dog's blood and bone marrow at any cost, as he was the last hope for his dream of making enhanced smart animal bioweapons. He desired to use them for selling it to both the opposing countries in warm or Cold War states. As such animals will save the loss of soldiers for the country and machinery, weapons, and vehicle costs, and also it will be hard to prove who sent these animals for an attack. He wanted to introduce a new method of war and earn a fortune by making his company the monopoly supplier of such bioweapons in the world. The mercenaries started advancing towards the mountain. They planned to bring Virat out of the forest to the mountain areas where there was a big plain terrain. For this, they sent a unit of 10 men to captivate Saya and her family, as they were the dog's only weakness. Bapan was watering the plants at the courtyard in front of the house and was busy that morning as usual days. Tapan also came out from the house to give a hand to Bapan. But Tapan saw something suspicious towards Bapan, as he saw a red laser dot pointed on Bapan's back. When he saw carefully the direction of the laser source, there were some commandos in camouflage in the woods. Tapan quickly went inside and carried a double-barrel gun, and rushing out he screamed, "Bapan, be careful, run and hide." He shoots the gun at the woods to distract the commandos. By seeing this hostile situation, one of the commandos shot a bullet straight at Toppin's chest. He fell the moment the bullet hit him. Boppin in Hurdle ran inside the house. At first he was confused about what was happening. Then after a while, he realized the situation and saw Toppin fallen on the ground at the front of the courtyard bleeding badly from his chest. The bullet pierced right at the chest of Toppin. Boppin ran out and pulled him inside the house, closing the front door. Nishant, as he was with the other mercenaries group at the mountains plain area, didn't know about this incident. Dr. Nolan wanted to capture or wipe out every member of the Singh family so that there should be no evidence left of his criminal illegal intentions regarding bio-animal weapons. Saya heard the shots fired and she ran to the living room from the bathroom. She saw Father Boppin crying badly for his brother Toppin. Saya got shocked and wept and screamed at Toppin. Uncle Boppin said, "It's too late now. Saya, he is dead, and if we go out we will be dead for sure." Saya said, "Dad, let's run from the back door of the house." But they noticed that the house was badly surrounded by the mercenaries. One more gun was available in the house. Saya said, "I buy you time, Dad, you hide in the basement area where we store grains." Boppin said, "No, it's dangerous, let me help you. They killed my brother and I will not leave them." Saya said, "I have to go out and run so that their attention should be drawn to me. If we stay in the house we are dead for sure." She said, "Hide, Dad, don't worry about me. They want VIRAAT more than us. These commandos are sure of biogens. They are here to take VIRAAT." VIRAAT heard the gunshots towards Saya's house deep in the forest down the mountain at his hidden cave and came running towards Saya's house. Saya knew VIRAAT's capabilities and said her dad, "VIRAAT will soon be here in no time. He will clear us the path for sure." The commandos started advancing towards the house. Saya started gearing up her gear, which she used to wear at the time of hunting. She had a double-barrel rifle, some bullets, and a set of arrows with a bow. She also had an army knife, which was of his dad's. She started counter-firing at the commandos from the window at the back of her house, but was pinned there and stuck badly. Dad Boppin was hiding in the basement area as directed by Saya. The bullets were not enough though for the fight, but Saya managed to fire and conserve it. Saya hears a roar far from the jungle. She knew it was none other than VIRAAT. She screamed with an approaching voice, "VIRAAT!" VIRAAT entered ragingly and started destroying the commandos with his push and bites. He pushed and pulled the commandos and flew them in the air with his gigantic, powerful, muscular body. He cleared them all in all the areas surrounding the house and also destroyed the nearby garden and trees in the process. When VIRAAT saw Toppin's dead body, he cried and mourned for Toppin. Both Saya and Boppin Singh wept over Toppin's death. The army was covering the mountain area down the forest where the village was not nearly far away. Boppin was guided to stay at the house basement until the hostile is dealt with. Saya said, "Boppin, let me take a look, Papa, whether there are more commandos down the mountain." As she doubted that there can be more hostiles down the mountain and the plain areas of the forest. They cannot pass down until the field is clear. Saya got up on VIRAAT's back and drive him to the mountain down the forest as VIRAAT was running at his top speed down the mountain. Suddenly the cavalry of commandos who were hidden there with their vehicles started attacking VIRAAT and Saya. The firepower was enormous, so Saya thought of retreating from there as there was no cover for them there and no edge for them. Saya thought an idea of taking the fight at the dense forest crossing the valley. Saya changed VIRAAT's course and made the commandos drive their way towards VIRAAT. She knew that the vehicles can't do a lot of harm in the dense forest. Saya also knew about the cave maze there where she earlier encountered the panthers. Saya not only wanted to escape the situation but also to take revenge for his uncle's death. While Nishant was in the APC watching, Saya rode on VIRAAT. He had some caring emotion for a while for her when the commandos were attacking her, but was so blinded in his aim and his jealousy towards Saya he changed his mentality and said the soldiers that Saya is well trained in hunting. She knew every inch of the jungle very well. It will be tough to take her down, and also he wanted to keep his profile unknown before Saya. Saya rode with VIRAAT towards the valley, this time down from the plain area of the valley which was partly forest and partly plain. 4 Hummers and an APC followed by 2 trucks started chasing Saya and VIRAAT. It was even tougher for the vehicles to chase VIRAAT's speed. As they were advancing toward the forest, some commandos with their RPG fired propelled rounds toward Virat. He anticipated that with his long-range hearing capability by his broad ears and jumped in the air by taking a beautiful maneuver dodging the RPG attacks. They were firing Virat with machine guns and rifles. Because of Virat's tough and dense hide, it was not so easy to drop down Virat with guns. But it inflicted normal damage that it started piercing his skin little by little as per the hits and amount of damage. Virat started bleeding a little with bruises and scratches. The combat made him dirty too, same for Saya also. She was not yet shot luckily. Virat faced and dodged all the attacks on Saya. She was safe on his hairy bulky body, providing her good space to hide and guide Virat. Now two Hummers came side by side towards Virat. They started firing with assault rifles from both sides. Virat jumped in the air with a beautiful maneuver and grabbed one of the Hummers from his powerful jaw, which bent the Hummer first, breaking the glass, and threw the Hummer onto another Hummer, crashing them down. Both the Hummer fell like a wooden log from the side edge of the mountain. Another two Hummers were destroyed by Virat by jumping and crushing them from his powerful paws and skating on it, eventually pushing them backward. Virat partly reached the forest toward the valley. Only two trucks of commandos and an APC in which Nishant was chasing them were left at the vicinity. When the trucks and APC came close to Virat, he suddenly turned back and barked with his powerful wavy bark force, which made the trees bend backward and the trucks and APC crashed towards one another in sudden chaos. It doesn't destroy them but made them immobile, and the commandos in the truck have fainted a little. In the APC, the commandos fired the APC's heavy caliber chain gun. Virat was hitting badly this time as the caliber of bullets was high and it was a close combat gunshot. Virat was annoyed by this. The tree bark got big holes due to the gunshots, and some of the trees had broken badly during the fire while Virat was trying to hide in the trees and dodge the hostile gunshots. Saya commanded Virat to rush and attack directly as they were pinned down and there was no place to escape. It was a dead-end area where the forest was very dense for Virat to run. Virat ran towards the APC by taking some hits and Saya dodging also from the bullets hiding on the dense furry hair of Virat. A bullet went scratching her arm. She lost her grip and started falling. But Virat supported her with his head and backboarded her on his spine. Lucky for Saya, Virat destroyed the chain gun with one strike of his paw and damaging the front glass portion of the APC. Virat bitted the APC roof and tear it. There were two soldiers and Nishant. Virat was about to stroke with his paw to destroy the men in the APC. But Saya caught Nishant's presence in the APC and shouted, "No, Virat." As soon as Virat heard Saya's voice, he stopped his paw attack on the spot and slowly put down his paw. Virat understood Saya's emotions, but was angry at Nishant and barked the hell out of Nishant and the two commandos. They ran out of the APC. Virat hit the two commandos with his tail as they were running behind Nishant to save their lives. Nishant ran in fear through the trees of the forest. Saya and Virat looked at him pettily but also very annoyingly. The fainted commandos on two trucks that were crashed among one another gathered up and pursued Virat and Saya. They crossed the valley where there was dense forest and finally reached the cave maze. Saya and Virat ran into the cave opening and spread there as per Saya's plan and guidance to Virat to take down the commandos in the cave only as they were heavily armed because there were lots of places for them to hide and stealthily take down the commandos. Saya and Virat had already explored the cave earlier and they knew almost all the shortcuts and openings. As two trucks full of commandos followed them there consisting of 20 men. 10 men went after Virat in one way of the cave opening and the other 10 went after Saya in another cave opening. The cave was a huge maze. Saya started hitting them one by one with her arrows and stealthily killing the commandos without another commando even being noticed. She avoided the rifle fire as it would disclose her position and also she was left only with 5 bullets in her ammo bag. She thought of conserving the ammo. The commandos were using automatic assault rifles at Virat. The commandos followed him deep into the cave maze. At one spacious yet closed area in the cave maze, Virat turned and barked with a huge sound. The echo from that bark made some of the commandos faint and fall. The commandos started running in the opposite direction of the cave that was following Virat. Saya saw the panther's paws mark on the ground and anticipated this cavity area has a panther's den. Saya made the commandos follow her and lead them straight to the panther's den. 5 men followed Saya. She made a sound which made the panther alert and he came out of his den. Saya looked in his eyes and screamed again and ran. Panther 2 do roar and pursued Saya. He was none other than the same panther who attacked her earlier and his brother was killed in that fight by VIRAAT. He was angrier at her as she reminded him of his brother's death and ran behind her like anything. Saya ran towards the commandos and the commandos saw her. They fired towards her. Saya ran towards a narrow cracking at the cave wall. The panther came across the commandos thinking them hostile. He first attacked 2 commandos and killed them on sight. The other 3 commandos killed the panther by group firing at him with the assault rifle. The panther died there on the spot as 1 bullet pierced his skull damaging the brain. VIRAAT ended the life of all the commandos in the cave area by hitting them with his paw and biting them and also attacked them with his tail swipes. Saya came out of the cave system at the top of the cave maze hill. The 3 commandos followed Saya and all 3 surrounded her from 3 sides. Saya screamed VIRAAT but VIRAAT was not showing up from anywhere. The commandos laughed and one of them said to her that their dog would have been dead by now as their fellow commandos would have killed him already. But the foot roof of the cave started shivering suddenly. A force broke the roof into pieces pushing all of them in the air including Saya. The commandos flew and by falling got neutralized. Saya as she was falling saved by VIRAAT. He had destroyed the foot roof of the cave from within and jumped and caught Saya on his forehead. By the time the sun roused, they saw each other eye to eye and were quiet at that moment like nothing happened. They both smiled at each other. Everything was still for a moment. But suddenly they heard a hunter chopper sound rising from down the mountain valley. And the chopper came in front of them. Dr. Noland was flying the chopper. He was angry with his mercenaries because of failing him. He thought of taking the mission of killing Saya and VIRAAT into his own hands. He started firing at VIRAAT and Saya with the Gatling gun. They ran towards the dense forest for cover. Saya tried to shoot the chopper with her rifle but it inflicted small damage on the chopper making the chopper smoke a little from its tail. Saya's ammunition was empty. She was left with only a knife and 1 arrow. Saya noticed a huge mountain there. She planned quickly and commanded VIRAAT to run through the dense forest towards the mountain top. She may have got some idea to take the chopper down somehow. Dr. Noland left the bomb's shaft open. The bombs fell freely on the forest attacking VIRAAT's path. VIRAAT dodged some of the bombs saving Saya, but was closely hit by one of the bombs at his back and his legs were damaged a little. There were brushes and scratches on him because of hours of a brutal fight. The beautiful dog looked like a rag doll. Saya was emotional at that sight but VIRAAT was still going on climbing the mountain top. Dr. Noland started firing projectile missiles on them. VIRAAT dodged a lot of missiles. But one missile was almost about to hit Saya from the top. VIRAAT felt its wave and fell deliberately making Saya fall and safely be at the position back of VIRAAT. The missile hit the ground very close to VIRAAT with its shrapnel. The stomach portion of VIRAAT was damaged very badly making him cry loudly. He was not able to stand after that. He saw the chopper turning again. Looking at this he gathered all his strengths back and made Saya ride on him again and continued his run towards the mountain. The mountain was covered by snow and the altitude was very high even for the chopper to properly fly on the top as the air was thinner there. Saya had some plan in her mind to destroy the chopper. As she knew the weather conditions there were not appropriate for choppers to fly easily, she might get some chance to take the chopper down. Dr. Noland again fired at VIRAAT with all the remaining projectiles missiles he had left on the military chopper. It was enormous firepower and the surrounding trees in that area also got destroyed. Dr. Noland's idea was to kill Saya as it will be easier to kill Saya with the blasts. If Saya is killed the dog will have no clue what to do next as there will be no one to command him. VIRAAT dodged some of the missiles successfully. But as the frequency of missile blasts raised at a point very fatally, he made Saya fall from his back again and covered her with his huge body. The projectiles missiles blasted randomly at the surrounding creating huge smokes. Dr. Noland maneuvered the chopper further from the smoke area and turning back he hovered the chopper in front of the mountain peak looking for VIRAAT and Saya. All of a sudden from the smoke VIRAAT emerged and he ran towards the mountain peak towards the chopper. Dr. Nolan thought Saya was dead with that fatal attack as he saw Virat's back was empty and Saya was missing. He started firing Virat with the Gatling gun of the military chopper. The bullets hit Virat a lot worse as this gun was of a powerful caliber. As the ammo got used earlier, the chopper was left with very few bullets on the pack, and after a little firing, the ammunition was empty. Taking the running momentum, Virat jumped towards the chopper right from the mountain peak. As he was in the midair and his leg was damaged due to the missile blast, he was not able to take a high jump long enough to grab the chopper. Dr. Nolan anticipated this and laughed at Virat. But in the midair only Virat opened his mouth wide and from there emerged Saya with the last arrow aiming at the chopper. Dr. Nolan was shocked at that sight, and then Saya screamed and fired the arrow straight at Dr. Nolan through the windshield. The glass broke and the arrow hit Dr. Nolan's neck. He bled badly. He screamed and tried to struggle with the pain. He was unable to handle the chopper. The chopper fell from the sky making different maneuvering movements and was crashed down the mountain. Meanwhile, Virat closed his mouth and fell like hell from the mountain, sliding and hitting through the trees and big stones on the way, and stopped just back from the chopper crash site. In a very low consciousness, Virat opened his mouth slowly. Saya got out from his mouth. This time Virat was trying to lift his head and was crying and weeping in pain. Saya started telling him, "Virat, please get up." Suddenly he started vomiting blood from his mouth. It was internal damage this time because of the high fall, and he was already hurt on a lot of areas on his body, unable to recover quickly even after his quick healing abilities. This fall had given him internal damage fatal enough to kill him. Saya acknowledged that he will die soon. All childhood memories of their past started coming in front of Saya's eyes, and the same for Virat. Slowly darkness started coming in front of Virat's eyes. He was steady there, reacting nothing but staring at Saya, the only dearest one of his life till death. Even after life left his body, he didn't close his eyes but kept the stare at Saya. She was shocked at that moment and started weeping. She closed Virat's eyes and all of a sudden screamed Virat. In deep pain and trauma, she fainted. Bapan Singh, her dad, with some local police and villagers came there rushing at that crash site, which was emitting enormous smoke. He saw Virat's body lying on the icy mountain with lots of fatal injuries. He shockingly mourned for him. He was curiously searching for Saya and eventually found her lying on Virat's face. The villagers and the local policemen were shocked and terrified at the very sight of Virat, as they had never imagined a dog that can be so humongous. Bapan and the villagers along with the local police lifted Saya and carried her down the mountain to an ambulance and rushed her to the hospital. Everyone was shocked at that sight, looking at the damage after the fight and a dead, marvelously giant dog. Virat, the giant beast, left this world sacrificing his life for Saya, his most beloved one, and by setting an example of loyalty, courage, and love for a human by a beast. Nishant came there hiding after the people left that site. Before the local police sealed the area, he wanted to extract Virat's blood and bone marrow samples. With a huge suction device provided at Biogen Laboratory by Dr. Nolan, Nishant extracted Virat's blood and bone marrow samples from the back spine area of his dead body. Nishant then retreated from that area where Virat was dead and felt pity for Dr. Nolan's death in the crashed chopper. As Nishant was coming down from the mountain, 2 villagers saw him and called him Nishant Babu. He feared whether the woodcutters knew about his treachery. But one started saying, "Nishant Babu, from where are you coming? Do you know your father died in the commando attack and your mother has fainted?" Hearing this and she is in a great shock, "Please go to Bapan Babu's house and meet your mom. Your father's dead body is also there, only they want you to cremate him." Nishant was shocked and started weeping in guilt. He thought in his mind that this mission of his had taken all precious things he had with him. The family was everything that he had in his life. The aim he had was of a destructive force. He can't even face his family now. He destroyed with his very hands the thing which was everything, called love. He was full of guilt and anger, and he threw the device loaded with Virat's blood and bone marrow down the icy mountain and walked in agony. He decided never to face his family again after that, with a fear that Saya may have revealed the truth. But in actuality she didn't. She cared more for her aunt and father, and she never wanted them to be in more pain, as they have suffered enough. Nobody ever knew the whereabouts of Nishant after that. After some days, Saya again went to that site where Virat had died. Virat's body was cremated and his ashes were spread to the mountain by her father. He didn't want Saya to see this painful experience of Virat's dead body burning and vanishing into fire, whom she nurtured with so much love and care since from his childhood. While standing at that mountain, Saya can still see Virat in the mist and snow of the mountain. Prayer and peace to that animal to fight a war with wholesome loyalty for his master. He didn't even care for his life even after death was near him. He faced his death with honor. He showed extreme caring towards his master till the end. Virat's story depicts the unparalleled bond that can be formed between a human and an animal. It also shows the one aspect of life which is common to all living beings, whether animals or humans, and that aspect is love. After a while, Saya left the mountain site in grief. Down the mountain, the suction device which was thrown by Nishant has been found by a hunter who was scouting the area for the after-fight scraps of weapons and machinery to sell them for money. He was the only one who earlier tipped Nishant about a huge wolf up on the mountain. When he lifted the device, it had a printed logo on it, noted as Biogen. He looked at it with curiosity and a greedy expression came on his face. He quickly hid it in a bag made of an animal hide and looked at his surrounding in suspicion whether someone noticed him hiding the device. Acknowledging that there was no one, he took it with him. The end of story. Hope you like this story. Audible. Note: please share, comment and subscribe to this channel. Also see more of this channel's videos to find these kinds of amazing stories. Thank you to all viewers.